Another trip to Cucuta Colombia, and today's the 4-year anniversary of a terrible terror attack in Garissa, Kenya. All that's coming up on The Hot Zone.
This is The Hot Zone. Engaging with the news in a whole new way, international war correspondent Chuck Holton brings insight into areas of crisis and lets you help those affected.
Hey folks, Chuck Holton here. Thanks for being a part of the Hot Zone. Before we get to talking about my most recent trip to Cucuta Colombia, where I was again at the Venezuelan border, and I've got a lot to show you from that trip. I also just want to make note of the fact that today is the 4-year anniversary of another just a terrible terror attack that happened in Garissa, that's in Kenya, near Mombasa. And it was a college there. Christians were targeted for murder by Al-Shabaab terrorists, and that was 4 years ago today. So take a look at this.
In Kenya, Islamic militants stormed a college and targeted Christian students. 13 hours later, at least 147 people are dead. Kenya is fighting a terrorist group called Al-Shabaab, based next door in Somalia. And Deborah Patta is on the story.
Students were jolted awake by the sound of gunfire as the heavily armed gunmen shot their way past the university's main gate and stormed the campus dormitories. Eyewitnesses said the gunmen fired indiscriminately at first before beginning a deadly march from room to room, demanding to know if those inside were Muslim or Christian. Police said some Christians were shot on the spot.
You know, Kenya's actually had a lot of problems with terror attacks by Al-Shabaab, and just recently in January, there was another one at a hotel called the Deuce at D2 right in Nairobi. They've also had the Westgate terror attack, the huge mall there. I've been to some of those places, and I can tell you that Kenya really struggles with their fight against terrorism because their neighbors to the north are Somalia, and the Somali Al-Shabaab fighters have been at war with Kenya, really, for many years because of Kenya's involvement in the Somali civil war. That is, they're there to be peacekeepers, really. I mean, the Kenyans form part of the African Union and help out with peacekeeping in Somalia. But of course, jihadis don't need an excuse to go murder people. But that's the excuse they're using in Kenya. Anyway, so we're marking the 4-year anniversary of that today. But let's move on. Let's talk a little bit about Venezuela.
Hey folks, yeah, I came back to Cucuta one more time just because, you know, it's still a mess, and wanted to get a couple more stories that'll air on CBN coming up soon. I just wanted to kind of tell you a little bit about what's going on here. So many of you have sent money to help out with this crisis that I really wanted to make sure that we were able to help more people. So I spent the last couple of days in between my reporting just going around and finding people that needed help. Now, I talked about this on a previous episode that, you know, there's kind of this, tension between the idea of, do you give $5 to 100 people or $500 to one person or somewhere in between? And, you know, I think that it's important to try to have a relationship or form some kind of relationship with the people that you help, because that's what generosity is all about. It's about a relationship. And when generosity comes without the relationship, it actually causes more harm than good, I believe, because it creates dependency, it creates the sense of entitlement, and we don't want that. But, you know, you don't have to spend a year with somebody to form a relationship. You can form a relationship in a matter of just a minute or two, and rather than just wandering around and handing out cash, which is a good way to get your arms ripped off out here, what I've been doing is just looking for single mothers, people with children, families that are hurting, and just trying to help them out in a way that will actually be significant. And it doesn't necessarily have to be a large amount of money. In many cases, they're at a point where literally $5 would get them the medication they need for their baby, or pay for their medical visit, or something like that. And so, you know, you have to take time to talk to them and to find out what their needs are, find out where they're from, what they're doing here, what their plans are. And that just takes a few minutes, but it's much more rewarding, I think, when I can do that. And I just want to also say, there have been several of you who have sent money to help with this crisis in Venezuela. And when you were able to do that, and we were able to reach into the lives of some of these kids we've been helping, you have taken it upon yourselves to continue to follow them on Facebook, continue to message them. Even if you don't speak Spanish, just use Google Translate and keep in touch with them and find out how they're doing. And man, I'm so proud of you for that, because that's the kind of relationship that changes lives. That's the kind of relationship that shows people what the glory of God, how great God is, right? And you've continued to care for them. So thank you for doing that. Christine and so many others who have really taken an active role, not just a passing role. Melinda and Glenn Whitledge, and there have been so many of you that have really done a great job helping out. So thank you very much. Jim Barry Eaton. And so listen, I want to just talk a little bit about the people that we've been able to help in the last couple of days that I've been here. I want to show you the story of Jose. First, check this out. Hey, Chuck Holton here. I want to tell you a little bit about why I started the Hot Zone. I've been reporting on wars and disasters all around the world for 15 years. Pretty much every major disaster there is. I've been there and I've seen a lot of mayhem and a lot of pain and suffering. And you know, it wears on a person to spend so much time with people who are absolutely just destroyed, just wrecked. And so what I wanted to do was to give you a chance to not only hear the news, to hear the truth about what's happening on the ground in these war zones around the world, but also I wanted to give you a chance to reach through the news and to help the people directly, because with today's technology, I can put out a video like this. I can tell you about my friend Jose that I just met here, who is a refugee from Venezuela. He's been here in Colombia for about 7 months, and he hasn't eaten in a couple of days. So I'm employing him to be my security guard while I make this video so I don't get robbed around here. The bottom line is, I want people to be able to reach through the news and immediately help people like Jose and help change their lives. And because it's depressing to just see all the bad things that are happening around the world. It's much better if you can actually feel like you're empowered to do something about it. And that's what the Hot Zone's all about. Mucho mejor que puedes ganar en Venezuela. Wow. So this is Jorgelis, and she's, ¿cuántos años tienes? 19. She's 19 years old. She's been out here for a year and a half, standing in this same place, because I've seen her on previous trips out here. And she sells sweets and candies and whatever she has out here. She can make a lot more money doing this, especially when it's a busy day like this and a lot of people crossing. She can make a lot more money doing this than she can doing anything in Venezuela. Doing this, she'd probably make almost $10 a day on a good day, but not every day is a good day. And some days when the bridge has been closed, they've had a hard time even buying food. So we just kind of made her day with a little bit of the money that you guys have given. We gave her a little more than she would make in 2 days out here working. So hopefully that'll help her kind of get a leg up. She's supporting her mother and her little sisters, tus hermanas, ¿no? ¿Cuántas hermanas?
Tengo como 7 hermanos.
There's 7. There's 7 girls in this family, y la mamá, and the mother. 7 girls and the mother, and all of them are obviously hurting because of this crisis. So you helped out with that. Thanks for doing it. We'll see you later. Okay, this is my new buddy, Jose, and I met him in a park in downtown Cucuta. He's sleeping on a park bench. He's 22 years old, and he's been here for about 7 months. Jose did some work. You know, he worked to try to get whatever job he could, but it's just not enough. And so he's looking to go back to Venezuela to be with his family and try to support them. So with your donations, we are going to not only send Jose back to his home, but we're going to send him back with a little bit of money so that he can bring something back to his family and help support those people who live in Caracas, a 15-hour bus ride away. So thank you. Thank you for helping Jose. So I'm in the public hospital in Cucuta, and this place is very busy because since there are no hospitals that have any way to care for people in Venezuela, the hospitals here are just overwhelmed with people coming in with everything from pregnancy to terrible gunshot wounds and all sorts of things. And the hospital here has spent millions of dollars caring for these people. We're going to go meet some of the mothers that are having their babies here in just a minute. So I am here at the public hospital in Cucuta, and all of the women that are waiting here, they're waiting to be seen, waiting to be checked out, and they're all very close to delivering their babies. This is one of the places that Venezuelan women can go to have their babies for free, paid for by the Venezuelan government. The government of Venezuela has spent over $15 million on services for Venezuelans here in Cucuta, just caring for not just pregnant women, but people who are sick and injured and need dialysis and all sorts of things like that. This woman that I'm talking to, ¿cuál es su nombre? So this is Alexandra. She's telling me she's 29 years old. She's not pregnant. She's here because her daughter is pregnant, and her daughter is only 13 years old. They live across the river in San Antonio, Venezuela. Her daughter got pregnant, and there's nothing to care for them in the hospitals there, and so she brought her over here. But she's kind of having problems because here in Colombia, it's a crime to get a 13-year-old girl pregnant, as well it should be. But in Venezuela, she says there's nothing. There's no law or anything. Like, nobody cares, she says. So they're trying to figure out what to do because the state here isn't really sure how to handle such a young mother. And indeed, we're going to have a very young grandmother here at 29 years old. So these women who have come here from Venezuela, they're having their care paid for by the government of Colombia. So with that in mind, I didn't feel like we needed to give them any money, but there is something more important that I can do for them, and that's pray for them. I'm trying to pray for these girls, especially everybody that we help, but especially these girls. So here I'm asking this girl how long she's been in Cucuta waiting to have her baby. She's been there about 2 months. She's from Carabobo, Venezuela, and I'm asking her if this is her first baby. She's very young, like 18 or 19. She said she'd lost a baby before, so this is her second. This will be a little girl, she said. And I said, wow, what a blessing. Can I pray for her?
¿Puedo orar para ella? Ok, quiero orar para ella. Dios Padre Santo, te pedimos en este momento.
So I just asked God if He would take care of this baby, give that little girl an incredible life, that she would be able to give birth safely, easily, without a lot of pain, that the baby would be healthy and mother would be able to get out of the hospital within a day or so. And then I told her I have 5 kids and they're all blessings from the Lord. I always think it's important to pray for your children, and she should too. Jose is, right as we speak, probably crossing the border to get on the bus to go back to his family in Caracas, and he's not going empty-handed. And that's thanks to your generosity. This other Campo family that we were able to help, check them out. So this is the Campo family. They've been here for about a month. They came from about 12 hours away from the border. They're reliant on charities here to eat, and they're just hoping to survive long enough to someday be able to go home. But in the meantime, you all gave money to help them, and we're gonna help them out, give them at least a couple weeks worth of
funds so that they can get what they need to survive. So thank you. So here's a woman with 4 children, and her husband's off, trying to earn a living here in Cucuta. Very difficult thing to do. They've been here for a month, and what I love is the trust that those kids have. Those kids are having the time of their lives. They're as broke can be. They're probably sleeping on the ground somewhere, but they're kids. They don't care. And you know why? This is a great lesson, I think. They don't care because they trust their parents. They trust their father and their mother to do what they have to do to take care of them. And it might be hard, but they're together and they've got their family there. And I think that as I go around the world and go to all these war zones and hot zones and things like that, people sometimes ask me how I can go into so many dangerous places. And I think I have to say I take a lesson from those kids. I trust my father. I trust God to send me where I need to go and to show me the people I need to meet and to bring me home again if that's his will. And as I always tell my family, if I don't come home from one of these trips, then you can know that I died doing what I was meant to do, that I was doing exactly what I wanted to do, what I love doing, what I'm passionate about. And the life that I've lived doing this job, there's no way I could ever ask for anything more. And so the day that my time comes, I can go willingly, I can go happily into the next life. And as the Bible says, rest with my fathers. But let's hope that that's not for a long time to come, because we got a lot more work to do. So I hope that all of you will keep watching. Go to patreon.com/hotzone if you want to subscribe to the podcast and support the podcast. You can subscribe on YouTube and iTunes and anywhere else that you consume the podcast. And if you have any questions or if you want to engage, that's what this medium is all about. You don't need to, this is not television. You can actually reach through on Facebook and message me and ask me your questions, and we can have discussions about this. I love all the people I'm getting to meet through this podcast because you're my kind of people. So keep it up. Thanks for watching. This is Chuck Holton. You've been watching The Hot Zone.
The Hot Zone is produced by Amy Holton and Livefire Media. Copyright 2019.